So I posted this photo of myself probably 23 years ago or so. You can see, of course, that was back in the day. And I posted this on Facebook, and I said that it was quite an adventure. And some people were asking me about this. What exactly was this all about? And so I want to share a little bit with you about my experience of taking the Temescal on one of my mission trips to southern Mexico. You know, some of the fondest memories I have of my ministry, my 50-year ministry this year, that over 50 years of ministry, that some of the fondest memories I have are the times that I spent on mission trips, short-term mission trips to various locations throughout the world, including Mexico and Kenya, Cambodia, Thailand, and other places along the way. And so this is the time that I took the Temescal in Mexico. Now, let me tell you, this was during our visit to Hutzlahuaca, Oaxaca. Hutzlahuaca, Oaxaca. It's easy for me to say. but this is the home of our guests, our hosts, the home of our hosts. And you can see this lady's, this is her entire kitchen. They're off to the right. And that's where she cooked all of her meals for a family of seven children, and then her and her husband. And that's where they cooked all of their meals. And she was cooking for us while we were there. And you can see the basin, the little bowl there on the right, where she would collect the dishes afterwards and go out and do the dishes. You know, honestly, I can't remember the name of this lady. And so but she was a wonderful host. She was one of the evangelists there in southern Mexico missions. That's what that's the mission organization that I served with during this time. So I went down with Joe Braun and also Bill Pyle. He's actually the guy who's taking the photo, so obviously you can't see him in this. And then off to the right there is Severiano Flores, and then this is his wife. And again, I can't remember her name. And that is an interesting story I'll tell you in a minute about both of them. But that's Severiano. He's a wonderful guy. He really was. Is that a complete delight to be with. And then after our meal together, is that his wife would go out and do the dishes. That's actually behind the orange curtain. There is the bathroom to the house. The house was about 12 feet by 12 feet would be my guess. And this is where 9 people lived. Not at this time, but some of the kids had already got out on their own. But also this area where you see the table is they moved that aside, and that cement floor became our sleeping area for Joe and Adrian and myself here on this particular mission trip. One of the most uncomfortable nights of my life I spent in that house. And I remember, I don't think I slept a wink the whole night, and I remember all night long I could hear like a mouse that was crawling around near my head, and getting into some of the food supply that they had there. Before we left Hutzlahuaca, and we were on our way to ultimately to Oaxaca, and then also to Oaxaca City, and then also on down to Chiapas in the very southern end of Mexico, and Tuxtla Gutierrez in Chiapas. Some great stories there too. But before we left, that they asked us if we wanted to take the Temescal. And, I said, okay, why not? I mean, nothing illegal, nothing alcoholic. And so I said, yeah, sure, why not? And so we went over to another guy's house. I don't know exactly who it was, but he had this Temescal setup, which is really what it is. It's a Mexican sauna. And what they do is they collect these leaves from a particular tree, and I can't remember what type of tree it was. And if they told me anyway, it would have been in Spanish, and I wouldn't have understood it. And you go into this little sauna that they've built there out of blocks, and they cover it up with these heavy blankets. And you have these mats in there, and you lie down in that, and you take those green leaves. There's a lot of those green leaves in the back of the sauna, and then a little bowl of water and some coals. And the idea is that you pour some of the water on the leaves, and you shake the leaves onto the coals, and you get the smoke filling up in the room, and you're supposed to beat yourself on your skin with those coals. It's not with the coals, but with the leaves, and stay in there as long as you want. So that after a while, you're just a piece of smoked meat is what you are when you come out of that, and so each one of us took our turn, and Bill took his turn, and Joe took his turn. The crazy thing about this is that this is right before that we got on the bus to go to Oaxaca City, and it was, and the bus ride was like about 8 hours. Well, we didn't have any time to shower before we got on the bus, and and once I got on, I realized just how bad we stunk. And so, I don't know what the other folks on the bus thought about us getting on the bus and smelling like that. But then riding on down to Oaxaca City, which I said was like about, I think if I remember right, it was about an 8-hour drive down to the city. All I remember is just how bad we stunk. It was just horrible. So, I called Adrian the other day and said, I need to step back from my role in Southern Mexico Missions. I have been serving as the president of that mission organization for many years now, and Janice and I are kind of at a new season in our life, and I've started a new nonprofit called New Destiny Network, where we provide coaching and also life coaching, and also counseling services to people regardless of their ability to pay. And so I'll tell you more about New Destiny Network at another time. But I thought, well, maybe I'll just step back and kind of bring to an end some of my involvement in missions, because I've been involved in Rafa. I started a nonprofit by the name of Million Kids. Is that I have been very involved in Tumaini International almost from its inception, and that's another ministry in Kenya. And then that I currently serve as a chapter director for Reasonable Faith, which is a Christian apologetics organization. It's a wonderful organization. And then we're starting up this New Destiny Network organization or nonprofit. And so I thought, I'm going to just put some of this mission work behind me, but God had other plans. And so that, let me just get back to where I need to be for a moment on our slides. And so I'm now launching a brand new mission organization called Messiah Christian Mission, and we are serving the Maasai people in Loita, Kenya. Let me tell you a little bit about how I got involved with this project and share with you what it's all about. So years ago, when I went on a mission trip to Kenya to Tumaini International organization, by the way, a great mission organization, which I would encourage you to check out their work in Kenya. That years ago, after the mission trip, is that a few of us went on safari to Masai Mara. And during that time on safari, I met these fellows, these two guys on the left of the screen there, and Richard, and I don't know the name of the other fellow. I can't remember his name. Excuse me, not Richard, Charles. There we go, Charles. And I can't remember the name of the other fellow. So Charles is the guy there, the solo guy on the right. And I just really enjoyed having a chance to talk with him about a lot of the interesting aspects of the Maasai culture. And so we visited one day for quite some time about all of that. Now, this is probably about 20 years ago, if I recall. Now, eventually, Charles and I became Facebook friends. There's another photo of him. And, we just kind of connected that way, and we had a chance to, just interact a little bit on Facebook. But then, a few months back, he reached out to me, and he says, I want to learn more about Jesus and Christianity. And so I've been having a chance to visit with him about all of that. And he told me about his cousin, I believe it is, who had gone to Bible college. And he was talking to me about, the need of the Maasai people in the region in Kenya, Loita, Kenya, where he lives, which is near the Masai Mara National Park. Charles was a guard at one of the resorts there, and it's interesting because they don't have fences around the buildings, and you're right in the middle of the national park with the wild animals, and so the wild animals could come through where you're staying at night. And so Charles and the other fellow I showed you a little bit earlier, and these other guys here, is that they would patrol the resort at night with their clubs. And I don't know if they carried their spears too, but their clubs and spears, and to keep the wild animals at bay. Hey, I have nothing but respect for these guys. But so he said, hey, I'm going to learn more about Jesus, and I want to see if you can help us in Loita, Kenya, with a mission. So I said, well, what do you need? And I reached out to his nephew, and he said, well, can you help us build a church building? Because this is the way that their church meets. Their church meets under a tree out there in Kenya. And and they sit on the ground and they listen to the Word of God. Now, you say, well, isn't this what these folks are used to? Well, stop and think about that for a moment. Is that this makes for a decent setup when the weather is nice, but right now it's been raining cats and dogs out in that area, and actually even flooding certain parts of it. And it's pretty hard to have a church service when the rain is beating down on you. And then, of course, when the skies are clear and it's a pleasant day, what a wonderful way to have a church service. But when the skies are clear and the sun is hot, what a miserable way to have a church service. So, they said, we need a church building. And so I asked Richard, I said, hey, how much would it cost to get a building built? And he came back with a figure a little bit shy of $30,000. And I said, I can't do that. I said, we have no money. This is a brand new startup and we have no money for any of this. And so let's figure it out. Let's do it step by step rather than just jump in with both feet. And he says, well, then how about a tent and to get some chairs? And I said, well, that seems to be a little bit more feasible. Why don't you give me a cost estimate for a tent and some chairs, and we'll see what we can do. Now, I want to introduce you to both of the guys who are now serving our mission. This is Charles, and he is our regional director there in Loita, Kenya. I love the slogan that we've adopted for Maasai Christian Mission, and that's just simply this, is that the lions may grow weak and hungry, but those who seek the Lord lack no good thing. Back in the day, it was a rite of passage for a Maasai warrior to go out and to kill a lion with nothing more than a spear and club. And, that due to, animal rights concerns and more of the ecological movement, that's not what the Maasai warriors do nowadays, to my knowledge. But they are involved in a lot of outdoor stuff and just incredible survivalists. And they, of course, grow crops now. They're pastoralists and they raise animals. And you've seen probably pictures of them with cattle. The Maasai believe, the traditional belief of the Maasai is that God has given all the cattle in the world to the Maasai. Hey, I'm not going to argue with them about that, but they have a wonderful relationship with nature. So Charles is our, let me just get my picture off here so you can see his full name. I think it's Olekuya, but don't hold me to that because my pronunciation of so many, I have a hard enough time pronouncing English words correctly. So that, but this is Charles. He's our regional director of our mission. And then his nephew or his cousin, who is Richard Saruni, he is our outreach director. Richard has gone to Bible college and he's very interested in church planting and in training leaders and helping people to grow in their walk and relationship with the Lord. And so he is our outreach director. So, I've really enjoyed having a chance to get to know these men better. We talk quite a bit actually, through Facebook Messenger, through text, and also through calls. But our project goal for this ministry is to raise $5,000. That will help us with our startup, and also to get the tents that we have to purchase in Nairobi, which is quite a ways away from Loita, and ship them in and have the the company set them up. They're about 40 feet long is the size of these tents. I don't know exactly how wide they are, but then we need a number of plastic chairs too to get the folks off the ground. And I really hope that you'll be able to partner with me on this to make this happen. We're a brand new mission, and your gifts to our mission are tax deductible. I'll tell you how that works out in just a moment. But in the meantime, that I would love for you to give consideration to helping out with Messiah Christian mission. How you can do that is that you can go to our website at outreachkenya.org, and there on our website, outreachkenya.org, that you'll learn a little bit about what our mission is all about, and you'll get acquainted with Charles, and you'll see Charles' picture at the top of the website if you're looking at it on a desktop, and you'll see Richard's picture also there. And then there's a place for you to click on with our current project, and our current project is to raise the money for these chairs and tent, and help us to get started off. Now, as I said, all of this is a tax deductible. Is that all you'll be giving your gift to New Destiny Network, and that the Messiah Christian Mission is a special project of this nonprofit that I've set up called New Destiny Network. And so on your receipt, it will say New Destiny Network. But 100% of the money that you give towards this special project will go to helping us to start up our mission and to get a meeting place for the Christians there in Loita, Kenya. You know, it's my hope and prayer that you'll join me on this project. Jesus himself said this after his resurrection, and we're coming up on that on Easter Sunday when we celebrate the resurrection. After his resurrection and before his ascension into heaven, he said, "Go into all the world and preach the gospel to all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and teaching them to observe everything that I've commanded you." And he says, "And I am with you always, even until the end of the age." You know, those are the marching orders of the church. And what we want to do is that we want to reach as many people as possible. I love that concept of let's make heaven crowded, and that we want to do that. And one of the new goals that I have at this season in my life is to help reach the Maasai people there in southern Kenya. And I hope that you'll join me in that effort. God bless you. I'm going to be sharing more about this mission in the days and weeks to come, but that's it for now. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.